Good afternoon and welcome to our Senior Living Smart Partner webinar. Today we welcome Amelia Wilson of SeniorAdvisor.com. Based in Austin, Texas, Amelia is the social media marketing manager for Senior Advisor, where she writes about online reputation management, activates social media, and reviews adoption for the senior living industry. A millennial daughter of baby boomers, Amelia enjoys yoga, hiking, and running with her rescue dog, Rockefeller. She graduated from Wellesley College cum laude with a dual degree in English and Medieval Renaissance Studies. Prior to joining Senior Advisor, Amelia managed social media for Microsoft-focused global conferences. She created the award-winning social media program for Senior Advisor and works with community partners as well as consumers to help them make reviews work for them. Please feel free anytime during the webinar to send your questions or comments, and feel free to tweet questions or comments at GetSLSmart or use #SmartWebinar. Let me now turn the webinar over to Amelia, who will discuss reviews, social media, and the internet, how to shape the online conversation about your senior living brand. Amelia, let me turn the webinar over to you now.
Thank you so much, Renee, and good afternoon to everybody who's on the call. Thanks for joining us. I'm Amelia Wilson. I work for SeniorAdvisor.com. I'd like to thank Senior Living Smart for inviting us to present this webinar today. They're an excellent resource for marketing senior living, and they're bringing a lot of great innovation to this space. I have a lot of great information to share with you, so let's get right to it. So, I have an agenda for today. Throughout the webinar, I'd like us to focus on and answer 3 basic questions, starting with the first one: how are families finding you online? Secondly, what kind of information are they finding? And thirdly, how you can take advantage of this information and shape the conversation taking place online about your senior living brand. Over the past several years, we've seen increasing internet adoption by the baby boomer and senior populations. As you can see in the graphs here, there's been a swift uptick on the dark blue lines in each graph, which charts the increasing adoptions of older generations on the internet as well as social media specifically. It's estimated that more than half of adults 65 years and older are online, and 80% of boomers are using the internet, and 84% of those are using the internet to search for information regarding healthcare. 40% of adults ages 56 to 73 are rating services online, which is at a rate 25% higher than the average adult. What's astounding about this fact is that not only are the majority of your target customers, these boomers, going online to find senior care options and locate your communities, but nearly half of them are also going online to share their opinions of the services you provide. So now that we know how boomers and seniors are increasingly going online, what exactly are they doing once they're on there? Firstly, they're reading online reviews. 85% of consumers read the online reviews for local business. They're joining social networks. In fact, the 74+ demographic is the fastest growing demographic among social networks. And they're also finding local businesses. 50% of the searches for local business occur on directories and apps, not search engines. So let me break this down and provide some insight into what this means. When a lot of us think of going online to find local business, we may think this means going into Google and typing in assisted living in my area, for example. And while this is still true, it is by no means the go-to approach for many consumers. Half of these searches for local businesses, like senior communities, are occurring on online directories and apps. So this large customer base is finding senior care on online directories like Yellow Pages, on senior care review sites like Senior Advisor, or on general online review sites such as Yelp or Google+. This is why it's vitally important that you're maximizing your brand's presence on these websites so customers can find you. Not only do these social and review websites enable customers to find your business, but they also increase their trust in your brand. Online reviews are the second most trusted source of information after word of mouth and friends and family recommendations, while consumer trust in paid TV, magazine, and newspaper advertising is declining. From the facts up on the screen, 69% of consumers are more likely to use a local business if it has an informative social media presence. 73% of consumers say positive consumer reviews make them trust a business more, and nearly 80% of consumers say they trust online reviews as much as personal recommendations from family and friends. Now that we've talked about how families find you online, let's talk about the information they're finding. And as we started to delve into on the previous slide, the kind of information they trust the most. We've mentioned that older generations are flocking to social media networks in larger numbers. Your customers want to connect with your brand on social media, so which one should you be focusing your efforts on? Seniors are the fastest growing demographic on Facebook. So if you haven't started a social media presence yet, Facebook is a great place to start. YouTube is also a very popular social channel for seniors, and it can be a great way for them to watch virtual tours of your community or perhaps fun videos you've created with your residents and staff. Finally, Google+ local pages are critical to SEO. Google places a lot of weight on their own social signals, so an important part of that is claiming and managing your Google+ local page. By claiming your page, you validate to Google that this is your brand, it's real, it's legitimate, and in turn, they'll help customers find you by giving you a more prominent presence on the internet search results. These Google+ pages are the ones that show up on the right-hand side of a Google search, and typically they'll have a photo, location, and description of your community, as well as link to your online reviews on Google, Yelp, Senior Advisor, and various other sites. So besides social media, what else are consumers reading about your brand? It turns out consumer-generated content, which includes reviews, blogs, and again, social media, are consumers' content of choice. In fact, 32% of consumers would never choose a healthcare provider without reading at least one piece of user-generated content. And 87% of consumers agree that a favorable review has confirmed their decision to make a purchase. So let's start to discuss online reviews, since they're highly persuasive for consumers and they provide a lot of valuable information for you as a community manager. You can think of reviews as online versions of customer feedback or testimonials. They're opportunities for your customers to connect with you and let you know what they love, like, or dislike about your community. On the screen, I've included two examples that show the valuable kind of information that can be found in these reviews, as well as the importance consumers place on the information they provide. This negative review on the left reads, "They showed us an apartment that wasn't even clean. I would think if you had scheduled a tour and knew prospective residents or clients were coming, you would want to put your best foot forward." On the right, the positive review reads, "We were tired when we visited, but the woman was so nice that it just made it a good experience. She called us ahead of time. We were very pleased with them." So both of these are real tour reviews taken from Senior Advisor, and they're fairly common examples of the types of things people rant or rave about in their reviews after they've toured a community. We've looked into these reviews on Senior Advisor from people who tour, and we've taken some time to analyze the common themes that tend to appear in positive or in negative tour reviews. So I'd like to share some of that feedback with you now. I guess we can go ahead and get started with the bad news and get it out of the way. What are the top 5 complaints that we see in tour reviews? The community didn't look nice. It was disorganized, dirty, dark, and it smelled bad. It was difficult to get in touch with someone at the community. They forgot about my appointment, and they didn't return my phone calls. The staff had a bad attitude. They were too pushy and didn't take the time to listen. They talked down to residents or ignored them altogether. They bashed their competitors. The sales staff was evasive or misleading about pricing. The residents looked unhappy and were just sitting around. Now let's talk about the good news. What are the most common positive statements we see in tour reviews? The facility was big, clean, and beautiful. The staff had a great attitude. They were helpful, friendly, professional, caring, compassionate, and open. The residents seemed happy and had good relationships with the management and staff. So based on this feedback, what is it that families are looking for? I think it breaks down into 3 main categories: good looks, good food, and good people. By good looks, I mean the community in the building, not the staff. People want to see a layout that is easy to navigate, and they want your facility to be clean and well lit. For good food, people want the meals to be nutritious, and boomers in particular are increasingly starting to expect to have more flexibility in their dining options, as well as being able to enjoy more of a restaurant-like dining experience. But most importantly of all, families want good people. You may have noticed a trend from the feedback that we read on the previous slides. Besides cleanliness and lighting, it's all about the people. People tend to be okay and overlook maybe a bad. They won't really overlook a terrible smell or really bad substandard cleanliness, but they're okay with older looking furniture as long as the people at the community are kind and caring. They don't like feeling like they leave your community and the only thing they can remember that they liked is the building itself because the people weren't that nice. In more cases than not, the breaking point for potential customers is whether or not they have a positive impression of the staff. So what exactly do customers expect to see from your staff in order to be impressed? Firstly, it's honesty. Families get very upset when they feel misled or lied to. Many customers will become suspicious if they feel you are not being direct with them about pricing. It's best to be honest and forthright, and hopefully you'll fit their budget. Secondly, families are looking for compassion. They walk away after a tour feeling wonderful if they've seen genuinely positive connections between your staff and residents. It helps them feel assured that their loved one will be joining a community and not just a facility. Responsiveness. Families want to know that you will care for their loved one and will make it a priority to address their medical needs or answer their questions. You never want to give a customer the opportunity to think, if they can't bother to be there for my appointment or even return my phone call, how can I rely on them to take care of my loved one in an emergency? Families are also looking for professionalism. They don't enjoy hearing you trash talk about your competitors. However, if your community is not a fit and you're able to offer up referrals to other nearby communities, families are especially wowed by that and will write you positive reviews to sort of pay it forward. And finally, we see knowledge comes up a lot in reviews. Families like feeling secure and confident that you'll know how to take proper care of their loved one. They expect that you and your caregiving staff will have the proper medical knowledge required. And just a final note on the importance of having good people. In positive reviews, first names of staff members tend to show up a lot more. And even in just a tour review, which really indicates the strong impression great people make on reviewers during their tour. It's important that families feel positive after they interact with your staff. So before we move on to the last section in the webinar, I'd like to take a moment to share with you a case study we performed with one of our partners, A Place for Mom, which is a national referral agency. A Place for Mom started including reviews and ratings from Senior Advisor alongside community location and contact information in the referral emails they sent to families. When we did this study originally, we wanted to see if we could answer the question, how does access to customer reviews affect a family's decision-making process when they're researching senior care? And it turns out the answer is quite a bit. We found a striking correlation between a community's star rating and its move rates. The data from the community suggests a 5-star rated community is over 100% more likely to get a move in than a community with no ratings or reviews. On average, communities with any rating at all had higher move rates than those without. So these first two stats both indicate this strong level, the very high level of trust consumers place in reviews, especially even just having a negative rating. It indicates to a consumer that you are a real business. Somebody may have had a bad experience there, but they can trust that you exist and you have services and that people are there reviewing you. Also, consumers exposed to community reviews were 74% more likely to schedule a tour of 4- and 5-star properties than those who were not provided community feedback at all. So next to move-ins, you always want to have high tour rates. And having positive reviews is really going to help boost those tour rates to increase. We show that the study basically shows that communities who deliver excellent service, encourage their residents to review, and manage online reputations have a distinct advantage over their competitors. The families feel more confident about their care choices if they've read others' positive experiences online. And as a result, families who have already read these online reviews of your communities before even coming to tour end up being more qualified and better leads than those who haven't. They've done more research and they're further down the sales cycle. Additionally, online reviews, by virtue of being on the internet, can reach exponentially more potential customers than simple word of mouth. So it's really important to make sure you've got reviews, particularly positive ones, if you want to get more moves and more tours. So hopefully by now you're convinced that it's important to manage your brand's online presence on review sites and social media. So now let's talk about how you can take advantage of these sites and shape the conversations consumers are having about your brand. The great news is senior living reviews tend to be overwhelmingly positive, and consumers are writing them for you for free. The average overall rating of reviews on Senior Advisor is 4 stars. This is great news. It indicates that the majority of people who are going online to review senior communities are doing so to share their positive experiences. It's a way for people to feel that they're thanking you for all you've done for their family, and it also helps them feel that they're paying it forward and helping guide other families who are currently searching for care. Now, on to the even better news. Reviews where the reviewer was invited by their community to review rate much higher than the average overall rating. They rate at a whopping 4.8 stars on average. This is 20% higher than the average rating on the site. And this is because as a community manager, you know better than anyone who loves your community. And these are the people you should be asking to write your online reviews. How can you get these rave reviews? Here are some suggestions that have worked for many of our partner communities. Tap into your staff's competitive spirit and engage your resident ambassadors. A large national organization we've worked with inspired their team members by creating a nationwide contest that had individual communities competing to get the best ratings. Team members ended up getting really creative, and they started asking for reviews whenever and however they could. They set up residents with email addresses and showed them how to use Senior Advisor to write a review. They emailed links to their community review pages out to families and other community contacts like volunteers or vendors, and some even threw review parties where residents could come down to the computer room and enjoy a piece of cake while writing their review. So within weeks, sometimes just within a few days, the ratings and reviews numbers for these communities skyrocketed, and the staff at the winning communities earned appreciation parties for their efforts. Another way is you could offer a computer class on how to post an online review. You can also include a link to your reviews page in your newsletter, blog, or email announcements. For instance, you could add a favorite review section to your monthly newsletter and include a link to your community review page on Senior Advisor. You can take this opportunity to feature the residents and families writing you these reviews. People love to get recognized. You can incentivize your reviewers with a monthly drawing. One community we work with hosts a monthly drawing, which includes the names of all the families that wrote reviews that month. And every month they pull out a name, and the winning family receives a special dinner in the community's private dining room. You can include your positive ratings or reviews in a lot of your online and offline advertising. For instance, you could create a marketing campaign centered around showing off the 5-star reviews you already have. You can include that rating in your ad copy for the promotions and move-in specials you're running. For instance, you could say something like, "What's it like to live in a 5-star community? Come find out." And you can also go around tables at mealtime with an iPad and ask your residents if they would like to leave a review. We also offer several free tools on senioradvisor.com specifically to help you get reviews. You can directly invite reviewers via email, which is this picture on the bottom left. In the middle is an example of the flyers you can print out that are customized with a link personalized for your community. And finally, we also offer pre-postage paid review postcards that you can give to residents that may be a bit less tech savvy, and they can write it and just drop it in the mailbox, and it mails in to us at their convenience for free. Another way to help ensure you get positive reviews is by making sure you're asking the right people. We found that family and residents reviews average a higher overall rating than reviews by people who have only toured. Typically, it's 4.2 stars versus 3.9 for the tour reviews. And this makes sense. People tend to write reviews at 1 or 2 touch points during the decision process. They're first writing reviews while they're touring, and then they go back and review the community they ultimately chose. When they write reviews for communities they've toured, they ultimately didn't decide on the property, so it didn't wow them as much as the one they chose. And then once someone has moved into a property, the reviewer usually has many more positive details they can share about their experience. The bottom line here is, if you want more positive reviews, ask your residents and their families to review. So once you get reviews, you should also make sure you're taking the time to respond to them. On Senior Advisor, once you've claimed your page, we instantly notify you via email every time you receive a new review. That way you can respond. just because it's so important. As you can see in this quote I've included in the bottom right, seeing your brand's response can change a consumer's entire perception of your brand. So it's really important that you do it right. But sometimes it can be difficult to think of what to say. We all get writer's block. So to help with that, here are 3 steps you can take whenever you're responding to a review of your community. The first thing you want to do is thank the reviewer for their feedback, be it positive or negative. This is always a great way to start your response. You show the reviewer you appreciate them taking the time and effort to share their thoughts with you. If the review is negative, you may also want to take a moment to apologize for their bad experience. Secondly, you want to acknowledge the experience or concerns the reviewer has. In positive reviews, you might thank them for pointing out a great thing about your community and reiterate why it's so great. In a negative review, you'll want to acknowledge their experience and explain how you plan to or have already fixed the issue. Finally, invite the reviewer back if appropriate. In positive reviews, you can invite them to join you for your next upcoming event. This is a great way to catch the eye of future prospects who are already reading your reviews and considering your community. It gives them an opportunity to learn about an event they may not have known about and brings them in to your property. And it's also a great way, if you're responding to a family member review, to encourage them to come back and spend time with their family member and engage in your community. If, in this case, the review is negative, you might invite them to come back and see how you fix the problem. That can be a great way to turn a prospective tour who had some concerns into a move once they see how you fixed whatever their initial issue was. So now that you have a strategy for managing your community's profile on social media and review sites, I want to share with you my last and personally my favorite tip for managing your online reputation. And this, like everything else we've discussed in the webinar, is also free. A great way to stay on top of what people are saying about you on the web, in blogs, or in the news is by allowing Google to bring the content to you. So what you do is you go to the Google Alerts page. I've included the URL on the bottom of this slide, and you enter your brand name in quotes in the search query box like I've done here in the screenshot. You can modify your alert based on your preferences by selecting how often you want to receive it and what types of content you want to be alert about. To get the most inclusive set of results, you'll want to keep everything as the result type, as I've done here, and select all results for how many. Bonus tip, you can also use these alerts to monitor brand mentions of your competitors, which allows you to see what they're up to. So once I fill this screen out and I click Create Alert, I'll get emails that will give me search results based on what I asked for, like I've shown you in this second screen. All right, before we go, I wanted to mention the Senior Advisor Excellence Award. We started these awards last year, and they were a huge success with communities. We'll be announcing the guidelines for this year's awards soon, but I wanted to give you a sneak peek and a bit of insider information on what you can do now to help your community win. So the first thing is, if you haven't already, you'll want to claim your community profile on senioradvisor.com. It's free. Secondly, you should read and respond to the reviews already on your page. Then you'll want to invite your satisfied residents and their families to review your community. And finally, stay in the loop with the instant email notifications whenever you receive a new review. Read it and respond. So this brings us to the end of our webinar. As Renee will mention, you'll all be receiving 2 free white papers from us at Senior Advisor. The first is called Why Online Reviews Matter, and it recaps a lot of what we've spoken about in this webinar on the importance of reviews for your business, and a fuller page on responding to online reviews. So this goes a lot more in depth than I did on an earlier slide on steps you can take to responding to reviews, depending on what kind of review it is and the star rating and what the reviewer's experience was. Finally, if you're interested in ordering some of those prepaid review postcards I had mentioned earlier, they're free. You just need to fill out a request form, and I've included the link on this slide, which you guys will all receive after the webinar. Thank you again for watching today. I really hope you found the information useful and are excited to go out and take advantage of these absolutely free social media and review tools to help market your community. Thank you again to Senior Living Smart for hosting today's webinar. If you have any questions or comments, I'd love to hear from you. So I've included my email address here at the bottom of the screen. It's amelia.wilson@senioradvisor.com. Don't forget the 2 L's in Wilson. Thank you again, and have a wonderful afternoon. Renee, back to you.
Thank you, Amelia, very much. That was really very informative, and I hope all the attendees will download the white papers and use those as well. We do have some questions for you that people have asked, and so I will field those. First, I wanted to ask you, what can I do if I get a negative review?
Great, that's a great question, and a pretty popular one as well. Unfortunately, none of us want to receive negative reviews, but it's bound to happen even to the best of businesses. The best step you can take is read it and respond. You can respond using the 3 steps I included earlier, saying thank you, apologizing, and addressing their concern, explaining what you've done to fix the problem or could do. And you want to, depending on if it's a tour review and they liked a lot about your community, but maybe there was one bit that they had trouble with, you can always invite them back for another opportunity to look at your community, and you can address their concerns. Occasionally there are people that will go online and they may rant about your community, and with many sites you can provide the review and ask them to remove it or investigate it further on your behalf. I know we have a policy for that, Senior Advisor. Yelp, I don't think you can do it. On Google Plus, you can flag it, but I think that's about it. But on Senior Advisor, we'll go through and investigate and double check that, reconnect with the reviewer and confirm this was their experience. And we're really committed to making sure that we have the genuine firsthand experiences of reviewers on our site. So we want to be able to accommodate both parties in those scenarios.
Great, thank you. Another question that came in, is this only for facilities?
Okay, so I'll answer that in 2 parts, for Senior Advisor and then I guess reviews generally. For Senior Advisor, it's not just for facilities. It's I've sort of focused this webinar to talk more about communities, just to make it a little bit clearer. But we do list home care providers as well on our site and receive a lot of great reviews for those. And a lot of professionals, say if you're a senior realtor or an elder law attorney, reviews are also important to your business. So it's a matter of going online, determining what sites. You always want to make sure you focus on your Google Plus brand, regardless of your business. That's #1 for SEO. And then you want to check if there's a listing already for you or reviews on something more general like Yelp. And then you want to look and see if there's something specific to your industry. Senior Advisor would be one for senior services providers. But typically just going online to Google and searching your brand name in quotes and then listing or reviews, you'll tend to see where you show up online, and you can take it from there and decide which sites you want to focus on.
Okay, great. Do you have any suggestions for dealing with a false review?
Yeah, so false review in that sense, I'm assuming I'll make an assumption on the question at a false review. Okay, from my own experience at Senior Advisor, we will get false reviews from employees. We tend to prevent the majority of those from getting online. Every once in a while they do slip through, and that's why we allow and encourage our partners to contact us if they suspect it's from someone like that. Those tend to be the highest. I've never seen any false reviews from like competitors, which is great. It tends to just be employees. But yeah, typically my same advice would be for the same as negative reviews. If you really feel this review is false in that it's by someone who hasn't been at your community, or in some cases they have the wrong community in mind. Say they talk about the pool and you don't have a pool, that's clearly a false review. So for those, I recommend contacting the site. Like I said, for Senior Advisor, we have a dedicated team that manages these, and you can contact them and say, give them the link to the review and explain why you believe it's false, and typically they'll work with you. I know it's a little harder to get rid of those reviews on Google Plus. Your only recourse is really to click the flag button, and I think on Yelp theirs is an automated algorithm, so I'm not quite sure how they handle it.
Okay, good. Thank you. Again, Amelia, another question is, how can I use the reviews in my marketing?
Great. So I mentioned a lot of ways earlier in the webinar, including them in you can include snippets from your reviews, sort of the way you use testimonials today or have used testimonials in the past. You can use snippets from reviews in your brochures, on your websites. You just want to make sure you're giving credit to the website that you took the review from. Another great way is including links to the review websites, because this allows people to go and, one, read the reviews that are already out there for your community, and secondly, write reviews for you. We offer something at Senior Advisor that we have an actual website widget that you can install on your website. Similar to how there's Facebook widgets that will pull up your Facebook posts, or Twitter will pull up your tweets. For the Senior Advisor widget, it automatically updates with your latest 4- and 5-star reviews. So that's a great way of keeping the reviews on your site without you having to manually update them or go to your IT team and have them update them for you.
Okay, one last question, Amelia, is how can I make my community stand out? And is there a way to get featured on these sites?
Yeah, great question. So a lot of sites you can pay to get featured. I think we're all familiar with that model. On Senior Advisor in particular, we offer you to get featured for free. And by free, I mean you don't have to pay money. The way you get featured is by having more reviews, updating your profile with more photos, responding to reviews, claiming your page. All of these activities, in addition to some others, earn your profile points. And based on your point totals in your area, your community will show up as a featured listing because you've taken the time to encourage people to come to your site and get more reviews. And we want to make sure that our site is helpful to consumers. So we like to reward the communities that have really invested a lot in giving back to those consumers by responding and by having a lot of reviews that people can read.
Great, thank you very much. There are no further questions from anyone, and I appreciate everyone who attended the webinar. And don't forget your exclusive offer for the white papers, Why Online Reviews Matter, and the second one is Responding to Online Reviews. And Amelia, again, thank you. That was a wonderful webinar and presentation, and everyone have a good afternoon.
Thank you.
Thank you.